Hello, I am Joel McLeod.
And I'm Roland Tanner.
And welcome to the 905er. I am recording this opener just minutes after the conversation you're about to listen to finished. I am still processing much of what I've learned and discussed. For some time, we've been wanting to do this episode. Racism in our school system hasn't been a topic that gets its fair share of discussion or analysis. Mostly when other mediums discuss racism in our schools, board trustees are brought on to talk about performative measures they want to publicize. Good public relations efforts to show how diverse and progressive they can be. We wanted to talk to the students who were impacted by those policies. In recent months, 2 different students groups in 2 very different boards have organized to address the very real issue of racism in our schools. Students Speak Up YCDSB was formed to give voice to racialized students in the York Catholic District School Board who have been faced with racial slurs and behavior on the part of students and staff, and a board that is seemingly indifferent. Hamilton Students for Justice was organized to address the ongoing issue of police presence in the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board. Their story was brought forward again into the media by the scandalous report of behavior of elected trustees towards student trustee Ahona Mehdi. We invited on Abisola, Asha, and Malik of Students Speak Up YCDSB and Greg Dongen of Hamilton Students for Justice to talk about their respective organizations and the broader impact of racism on our school systems, as well as Canada at large. A few notes to bring forward before we begin the interview. This episode was originally planned to be a standalone episode. In the course of our discussions, Roland and I decided to make this a 2-part episode. The second part will be released on Thursday. Our conversations are frank and honest. We do not edit our guests' words or experiences in any way. We wanted them to share their stories and experiences truthfully and unvarnished. This conversation is important and ongoing. You may find it difficult to listen to. You may agree with it. You may vehemently disagree with it. However, on this podcast, we believe that this issue won't go away if we do not address it head on. We are proud to be able to provide this platform as a medium to have this discussion, and we will continue to do so in the future. For now, have a listen. Okay, well, I'd like to thank Malik, Greg, and Abisola for joining us today. Thank you very much for taking your time, ladies and gentlemen, for coming on. And I think I'd like to start off by giving our listeners a bit of a background in terms of what the story is today. I'm wondering if, Greg, maybe we can start off with you and share with us who you're with and kind of why your organization exists.
So my name is Greg. As just introduced, I'm with Hamilton Students for Justice. The Hamilton Students for Justice previously went by HWDSB Kids Needs Help. HWDSB Kids Needs Help was founded because there was an abscess of racism, carding, and harm caused by police within our school board. And students mobilized to advocate against it. It began by a ton of community consultations and student consultations, and then later on evolved to the termination of our police liaison program in June of last year. The ways we went about that were writing reports, consulting community, building our own community, and then direct action. So the day of the vote against the police liaison program, we held a close to 6 or 7 hour walkout for as long as they were having that meeting. It rained, it was pouring, there was torrential downfall, but we still stayed out there and we still kept pushing for what we knew should happen and trying to hold our elected officials accountable.
Right. And Abisola or Malik, you are with Students Speak Up YCDSB. Abisola, I'm going to throw the mic open to you to share your story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abisola. So we started Students Speak Up York Catholic District School Board, just to have an ongoing conversation of anti-Black racism. It actually started as a group of students messaging us and talking about their experiences with anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, and just racial discrimination within the board and the lack of response from the board, the teachers, and trustees. So a group of us saw that, and we decided to create a group just to be able to like talk with the board about it and stuff. And it grew more than we expected it to, but it's been a good ride. I'm just gonna let Malik also talk about it as well.
So yeah, like at first what we thought were like our isolated incidents was starting to seem like a habit and a culture within the school board of anti-Black racism. And it was not just the students, it's the teachers. And we've come to even just the more we just unveil what's going on, the darker it looks. It's like we found out that the school board wasn't even presenting complaints from the students to the College of Teachers. There's a lot of like suppressing of information, and everybody's just acting like they don't know what's going on, but I know better. I know that it's a calculated thing, and I know that it's inherently evil.
Well, I want to talk about the common aspect of both your stories. So in terms of York Catholic and in terms of Hamilton, Wentworth, both parties had issues with racist behavior in their school system. Both of you went to your school boards to air your grievances, and I'm wondering, maybe can you share with us what that experience was? Malik, I'm going to throw it open to you to share that note with us.
So like everybody pretend like they had no idea what was going on, right? They're just like, oh, there's racism here. Like, I can't believe it. We'll do everything in our power to stop it. And then, you know what we said? We said, okay, this is what you'd have to do. And once they found out that it's things that would involve actual work, and for them to actually do things that benefit people that aren't just white, they didn't want to do it. You know, when you want to help somebody, but only how you want to do it, it's not help. They didn't want to do anything. They just wanted to look like that they're helping. They just wanted information from us because they knew that the students in the community entrusted us, told us what was happening, and with specific examples. And they wanted our examples, and we were happy to give them if we knew what they were going to do with this information, because we had some information that involved students that are currently there, and they could easily just alienate them further, right, which was what their plan was.
Greg, can you share with us what your experience with the Hamilton Wentworth board was?
So recently, something that's been highlighted in the media has been Ahona Mehdi's claims against the school board and the board of trustees, where they were openly making racist comments at the same meeting we were talking about sitting outside for 6 hours for. As HS for J, I can tell you stories till my lungs drop out. I was, like, me personally, I was one of the leaders in a Black Youth Council at my school, and we had a Black Youth Mentorship Program. And what ended up happening was, because I spoke out about racism with HS for J, they canceled the program. They canceled the Black Youth Mentorship Program, one of the programs you saw as a benefit to Black youth. And that's the only type program within schools in Hamilton. The trustee incidents, now we're seeing the board voted for sanctions. And 3 of those people who were mentioned in that report voted against their own sanctions.
Yeah. I'm just chipping in there because I simply cannot believe that. I mean, that alone, quite apart from anything else, seems to me like reason for dismissal or resignation. You cannot vote to decide whether you deserve to be sanctioned for a report, for an independent report saying that you behaved badly. I mean, it's crazy. I just want to come back to a theme I suspect is common between both your experiences in York and Hamilton, which is when you complain, the first response that you receive from the officialdom, if you like, or from the trustees or from the board itself is kind of, you're not doing this right, you're not complaining in the right way. And it's like that very patronizing, well, you behave yourself and if you're like good people, then maybe we'll listen to you. And I wonder if you did any of you, well, let's start.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, you go, Malik.
I'm sorry to cut in. I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Pretty much the first thing when we opened up this Instagram page, getting a lot of followings and a lot of stories, the York Catholic District School Board student trustees contacted us. They didn't know how old we were. They didn't know who we were. They assumed we were currently high school students, which isn't the case. So what they said, first they tried saying how, oh, it's unprofessional, you shouldn't do this, that, and the third. That's one person. That's one group of people that have addressed us. And then there was a teacher in the York Catholic District School Board who, in a very threatening tone, said, "I don't think this is the way you'd want to go about talking about racism, because how would your future employers and future post-secondary school teachers look at this? You know what I mean? Like, oh, like we're supposed to be scared. You know, like it's just tactics. And I'm really tired of it. I'd love for Abby to explain her perspective as well.
Yeah, so delving more into what Malik is talking about, when we actually first started, in regards to the student trustees were actually sent by the elected trustees of the York Catholic District School Board, and they told these students to pass the message on to us to say, hey, if you are going to present your message, or when you come to the board and stuff, you have to be professional about it. Our entire group is filled with racialized folks. We all know what we mean by quote unquote professional. And we still haven't gotten an apology for that anyways. We can always talk about the difficulties with the board. And on top of that, we actually didn't get a response from the board until, I think, was it Malik, like 2-3 months later? Or
it was months later, and we knew that they knew about it.
Yeah, so they knew about this page, they knew all these things, but we didn't get a response. And with the teacher that the situation happened, we didn't even fully get closure with the situation as well, because, you know, to have a teacher that is employed by the board, supposed to be teaching and protecting students, message you and say that, hey, you know, what you're saying is not like right. Like, mind you, we're speaking up for justice. This isn't right because you're not going to have a future. And this same teacher is one of the people that preaches about having using social media as a tool of advocacy. So it's the weird dichotomy in the situation.
Well, I was going to ask, I'm curious to know, I have a couple questions out of those stories. Like, I guess it comes down to is is there a right way to air your grievances? Like, is there, what's the right way to protest? Which is, I mean, let's face it. I'm gonna go into this. Like, we're talking with the umbrella of the Black Lives Matter movement that's been happening worldwide, has been going on, and one of the themes is when these complex questions come up, we always hear you're not doing it the right way, you're not protesting the right way, you're not airing your grievances the right way, and I find that it's like, what's your response to that? Is it just like tell us the right way?
There is no one way to like protest and stuff. When we have different movements, like, you know, queer movements, you know, indigenous resurgence movements, you can't police marginalized folks and tell them how to speak up about their grievances and how to speak up about the oppressions that they faced in life. Sometimes, like, protesting could be a form of using a hashtag. We saw that with the BLM movement. Some folks choose to, you know, walk or march and protest. This was our form of resistance at the same time. And this was a form of giving students a platform to speak up, just like our name. A lot of people are not given that opportunity. So when we have people policing our tone and telling us, you know, you got to be careful with the way you protest because you won't get a job. You won't get into university. That
Right.
There's just that,
Did you take that as a threat?
weirdness about it. Absolutely, in the sense that, you're imagine we were actually, grade 11, grade 10, grade 12 students,
Right.
and we're trying to do something and open a platform for people. This is not something that we would want. I would be scared if I was younger. I'd be like, oh, maybe this teacher is right. Maybe this is this, but you can't say something like that to students. And on top of that, we emailed this teacher back and told her what she was doing wrong. And she still policed us. And we told her that maybe she needs to be informed through various, educational tools. And she ended up telling us that our way of educating her, quote unquote, was wrong as well. So it's just understanding the power and privilege that comes within that position in that body.
I personally think that in their opinion, the best way to protest is to not make anybody uncomfortable, not talk about anybody they know or like, and not bring up anything from the past. And you must remember every single detail. That's what they mean. That's how they want us to fight for our freedoms. Now, these Black issues are not just for schools, like you mentioned. You said it's the Black Lives Matter movement. So this is a widespread issue that involves death, it involves oppressions, and it also, the schools is a microcosm of a bigger issue. So with that being said, when we talk about fighting for freedoms and stuff like that, we Remembrance Day. Don't people go to war for our freedoms and stuff like that? Don't we praise veterans and stuff like that for fighting for essential freedoms? But when it comes to Black people using words and literature and typing, it's way too aggressive. I don't understand. You know what it is? I think they want us to be oppressed. That's it.
It's so patronizing and offensive. I mean, I'm not on the receiving end, but all I can do is imagine how offensive it must be, particularly when you look at, it's Black History Month right this minute. You look at the history of Black people, and I'm not seeing that playing by the rules has ever got anybody anywhere. It's been the constructs of polite society were designed not to work for you, So when you play by those rules, you're gonna lose. And that doesn't go for the Black Lives Matter or anything like that. It goes for
labor movements.
Yeah, all kinds of movements. You don't get anywhere without you guys are in the Toronto Star. There are all kinds of organizations that have played by those rules. They're not in the Toronto Star this month. You are. Your protest is working. People are noticing, But yeah, of course it upsets them. But you have to learn, they have to learn to respect articulate, intelligent people like you who are going to protest the way that you want to protest. And I think more power to you.
I just want to jump in, for our listeners to hear. We are having some issues with Greg, I think, coming back onto the podcast. I'm not sure if there's connection issues there, but we're just going to keep going with our guests here from Students Speak Up. What's the response been from the public in general in the York Catholic School Board? Not just the teachers and the trustees, but parents, the public at large. Have you been? What's been the reaction to your organization?
It's been a lot of mixed emotions because we have a couple we have Black parents that come to us and thank us, and I remember when this first started and I was doing this on my own private page and allowing students to voice their opinion. I was just walking down the street with my sister one day, and I remember one of the Black mothers that I knew came up to me and thanked me and said, "What you're doing is very powerful," right? This has been a learning experience with various folks too, and students are learning that they have a platform, they can speak up for themselves. When we started this, it wasn't a point of, a lot of folks said that, you're just spewing hatred, what do you gain and stuff. I don't know if Malik remembers, we used to get a whole bunch of different trolls on our page saying we're causing division. But this isn't the vision. When marginalized and oppressed communities are telling you that something is causing them grievances and stuff, you don't get to say, oh, you're the one causing the division. It's a whole system. It's been great to see how many parents support us. When we had our protest, for example, we had a couple teachers join in with their classes and they interacted throughout of it. Like, these are things that this is why we do what we do. Like, this is the reason for it all. We're educating people. We're letting them know. We are, bringing people's stories to the limelight, things that you wouldn't conventionally know. So we didn't know, like, if teachers, like, I don't know if you followed our Instagram page, but for like a grade 12 prank, a kids at one of the York Catholic board decided to spray paint the N-word.
And the principal was black.
And the principal was black. The board is still pretending like this didn't happen. Like, these are things.
The board doesn't even protect the teachers.
Sorry. So at a York Catholic school board, a school in the board, a student spray painted the N-word on
a collective group of grade 12 students spray painted. Okay. I'm getting chills as I say this because this is just very traumatic. Right. They spray painted the N-word as a grade 12 graduation prank against their black principal.
And there was no action taken by the board. There was no effort to suspend, expel. I don't know what the
just for the future. Just for this, for context for your viewers, and I've even asked the York Catholic District School Board this. I asked them a simple question: when in the history of ever have you investigated or prosecuted a student or teacher for any racist incident? Silence filled the room. So I do not think this is any different. It's not. They've never done it.
And I think I read on your Instagram page today that students get suspended for turning up not wearing the right clothing, right? And no one gets suspended for something like this.
It's outrageous. I myself grew up in the Catholic system. I went from my grade school to high school in the Catholic system. So I find it's incredible that you hear all about things like social justice and equality and how to live under God and Christ and all this. And it's appalling that in the Catholic board that would pride itself on being, we're all children of God. And I know that the two of you are probably shaking your heads at that because that's to allow something like that to happen, but have no disciplinary measures whatsoever.
It does not exist.
Quite frankly, shameful and appalling. I see Greg is back. Great. Greg, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Abisola and Malik, I wanted to bring this up to you because it's just crossed my mind. The YCDSB hired a new education director. We have talked about this on the previous episode, where this gentleman has 3 years, I think, experience in education. His previous career was as a executive at Scotiabank in cybersecurities. Again, very talented, I'm sure, very capable in his field. However, I want your take as former students of the board. What's your impression of this situation?
Personally, like if somebody tells you your breath stinks and then you go put mints in your mouth, you should have. There's better ways to go about that, and you wouldn't have done it if things weren't said before. So the way I see it is this: they're doing moves to make it look like they're doing things while not actually doing anything. It came up in a meeting to where I was asking, okay, so you guys hire these new people, you guys claim to have a new system for reporting. Now that you guys have done this in the past few months, can you name me one example? Same question. Can you name me one example since you guys have started this new program of a change, something that's benefited Black students? Silence filled the room. Like I'm telling you, I'm asking them very simple questions, nothing deep, nothing overly, I'm just asking, what have you guys actually done? Straight up. And nothing is the answer. They just do a bunch of the lip service. It's a show. It's like, you know what I mean? It's tokenism. You know what I mean? It's not, they don't care. They just want to say, okay, all right, let's check off the Black students this week. Like, let's just get them out of the way. They have no plan. They have no desire to actually do anything real. And when me and Abby and the rest of the students speak up, give very tangible advice and giving them information and resources and things that they should do, they ignore it and they do what they want. So they've done nothing.
Really. Greg, I see you're nodding your head there. Do you want to chime in?
I can speak to this. Malik just said it like no other. A lot of these resolutions that boards choose to come up with without even really consulting the community.
Mm-hmm. That's it. They never consult me. I'm sorry. I like that point. They never consult community. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then when they do consult the community, that's when it turns into a stance where your information doesn't come from an academic background. You don't have valid information, or they try and unsubstantiate the argument you're trying to make, which is for the betterment of their students. So then it really, in all honesty, what a lot of this stuff with the school boards has shown me is that they don't care about the kids. They don't. They're another business operating like a corporation that just want to cover their back end as well as cover their bottom line and make sure that as long as their stakeholders are happy, which students are not a part of, as long as their stakeholders are happy, they're happy. And they don't give a fuck about any of the kids they have to step on in the meantime, or they don't care about what plausible and real tangible changes the community input is giving, because it's more work and they don't like that. Even if it comes,
I love giving, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, like, even if it comes down to where you're giving the police liaison program like that tangible deconstruction aspect of the school board that needs to happen, I think, nationwide. Like, there are organizations in your city that are doing the same work that cops would be doing in schools.
I'm puzzled by this, and that might be my background. When I was in high school, we didn't have cops in schools. The only time a cop came into our school was to give a presentation on don't do drugs. That was it. What can you tell us what exactly is this police in school program? And I'm wondering, your Catholic school boards, did you have the same program in your schools?
I think a couple schools may have, but that doesn't mean like cops are policing Black students in school constantly. Like, they are bringing
Black,
them.
The
they are bringing them in. Like, firsthand experiences. Like, it's what do we gain in policing students? Like, we heard of a story one time. I'm sure Malik knows this one, of a kid that was at Wonderland with his friend, and the friend thought he saw like someone else's Gucci belt with him, and as a result of that, he thought it was stolen. So he comes to school the next day, tells the principal. The cops come into the school and they arrest the Black students. Mm-hmm. This is the Black students' own Gucci belt or whatever, and because the cops are trying to protect the students, they decide they put a hoodie on him, so it's like, oh, we don't want to embarrass him, we don't want to put him on the scene. What is the purpose of having cops in school? These students are not fully committing crimes.
That's what I'm wondering. Greg, what exactly was the purpose of the program in Hamilton, Wentworth?
In Hamilton, I think they used some kind of stupid language, like the police liaison program is made to better relationships between communities, between the community and the police, starting at the youth or something like that. But in reality,
And how did you interpret that?
um,
How do you interpret that language?
well, I feel the idea of having cops better their connection with the community would easily start with cops being abolished. That's my thoughts. I'm sorry, but I don't know if anyone else has anything else to say to that. But if you think of it like you can't better the connection the police have with Black people, because the whole principle of policing started off the back of slave catchers. Like that, those two will never relate. Black people and police will never relate, because the systems that they're running on is still a system of oppression, and a system that in all essence forces you to conform to the views or the thoughts of whatever that police officer has or says in front of you. And if you don't conform, they're arresting you. So cops in schools, sorry, I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm passionate about this one.
Go
Cops in
ahead,
schools
please finish your thought.
are no other, are the same thing as cops are picking up students out of schools. Like cops are the same way cops try and pick a donut out of a box. Like it happens so frequently, it's not even funny.
That's where we're going to make the break for today, but please come back on Thursday and listen to the second part of our conversation with Abisola, Malik and Greg. It's a conversation which gets even more interesting, even more important to listen to, and I honestly don't think it's a conversation that I'll ever forget.
That's it for this episode of the 905er. Thank you for listening. As always, you can send us your feedback, thoughts, and concerns, or ideas for future episodes to our email, info@905er.ca. We'd love to hear from you. You can help us keep the 905er going by financially supporting us through Patreon as well as PayPal. Visit us at 905er.ca and click on the support tab. As well, links are in the show notes for your convenience. Lastly, you can find us on social media. Search for _905er on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So long for now. See you next time.
Looking to make the most out of this life and optimize your personal wellness? Then check out the Natural Man Podcast. Join me, host Mike C., as we explore all areas of human wellness, physical, mental, and emotional. Learn strategies to optimize your own well-being and be in the driver's seat of your own health. Remember, your doctor works for you. Learn biohacks, neurohacks, ways to improve sleep, and ways to optimize your body and your mind. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, the Fountain app, and at naturalmanpodcast.com.